Members, it's with great sadness that I rise today to ask that we adjourn in the memory of a true exemplar of public service, Mayor Bill Brand, who passed away earlier this month. Bill was best known as the outspoken mayor of Redondo Beach, a vibrant coastal city in my district that was everything to Bill. Throughout his 2 terms on the city council and his subsequent 2 terms as mayor, Bill stood as a dogged champion for the preservation and restoration of the South Bay's coastal lands. Despite being born in Dallas, Texas, an 8-year-old Bill was metaphorically baptized in the waters of Redondo's seaside lagoon as a permanent citizen of the South Bay community. And from that day on, he devoted every moment to immersing himself unconditionally in all that makes the region special, as if to make up for those first 8 years away from his home. Bill spent his formative years swimming and surfing in the waves of the Pacific, and while they didn't necessarily smooth over his edges, they did instill an understanding of his place in the larger ecosystem. And over the next 4 decades, through his education and engineering career, working in aviation, his sense of wonder and reverence for the water and the coast never faded. Over the years, Bill's devotion to the waterman lifestyle led him to every major U.S. surf destination, to swim 3 miles in the Sea of Cortez, to travel to the far reaches of the globe in search of a memorable swell. And it wasn't until 2001, with the plan for the heart of the city development impacting the Redondo waterfront, that his love was catalyzed into the tenacious fighting spirit that would come to characterize the Bill brand. After the plan sailed through both the Planning Commission and the City Council, the ensuing battle alchemized Bill, the waterman, into Bill, the activist and advocate. And the relationships that he formed through the course of that year with like-minded activists such as Jim Light at the Surfrider Foundation and then Councilmember Chris Cagle would permanently change his life's trajectory. Bill's newfound zeal for conservation didn't subside after the project was quashed. Instead, it sent him looking for more ways to support and engage his community and to defend his hometown and home waters. In 2004, Bill founded the South Bay Parkland Conservancy to serve as the voice for local land preservation across all fora, from local to federal. The AES power plant, the coastal site of the original Heart of the City project, eventually became the target of Bill's focus. Built on a historic tribal saltwater wetlands, the power plant was a tremendous eyesore, a behemoth providing very little power that was an unsightly, polluting holdover from a different time. Bill finally decided to bring his fight to the dais, like so many of us running for office in 2009, winning a pivotal seat on the city council. Now, upon hearing that her brother was going to be serving on the city council, his sister Sally said, "Really, Bill? The guy who wouldn't show up for dinner because the waves were good is going to help run a city?" Well, what quickly became clear was that Bill's unconditional love for surfing, love that was worth skipping dinner over, was the same ferocious love that he felt for the entire community, and that love was his sustaining force in politics. Throughout his years of Redondo leadership, Bill's activism and heart for his community was offered to any and all who needed it, always fully and freely. It was his willingness to fight battles that he knew wouldn't come to fruition until the next generation that really empowered him to effect such powerful change in his own lifetime. And during his tenure, he fought tirelessly to secure state funding to restore the same seaside lagoon that changed his life as an 8-year-old, to keep it open year-round for folks from all over LA to enjoy. We know that it's a place where kids, oftentimes from all over Los Angeles, get to experience the beach and the magic of the water for the very first time. He brought the wonderful beach life music festivals to Redondo Beach, boosting the local economy, sharing the beauty of the South Bay with visitors. As was his style, he wanted to take a proactive approach to address and support the local homeless population, including the installment of tiny homes for temporary housing, bringing in homeless courts and other innovative solutions. And perhaps most meaningfully, Bill was able to oversee the decommissioning of the AES power plant, which was the culmination of decades of activism and a major step towards the restoration of the land on which it sits. The goal of taking the plant offline, which just seemed impossible 20 years ago, has been achieved and seeded a new generation of activism at the site, all due to Bill's unwillingness to give up. New Year's Eve, December 31st, 2023, it was the last time I saw Bill. We all gathered to mark the decommissioning of the plant. The next day, New Year's Day, this year, 2024. And there was this wonderful outpouring of support, and I'm so glad Bill was able to be there. Lots of people telling the story of the decommissioning of the plant. So many of the accolades focused on him and his role and his leadership so justifiably. I was able to stand up there and speak of our decade of work and partnership from the very first time we got together for dinner at Captain Kidd's on the harbor when I was first running for office, through all the work coming up here to the Senate, working on funding for the Seaside Lagoon, the AES plant, all sorts of matters of import to the Redondo community. Bill was relentless, he was dogged, he was determined, so deeply committed to his city and its people. You know, many of you know I lost my father last year, and in the years building up to his passing, we all knew he was sick, but he would always come back and he'd be better again. And that's what happened with Bill. You know, I found out several years ago that he had cancer, and he would go offline for a little bit, get some treatment, but then he'd be back. He'd be back at an event, back calling me, asking for something, back advocating. And I just thought that this was the new normal and would go on forever. But of course, cancer catches up with everybody, and Bill ultimately left us way too soon at the age of 66, at peace and comforted by his wife Deirdre, family and close friends after a valiant 4.5-year battle against cancer. Up until his final day, his first and last question was always, what can I do? His selfless commitment to his community will not be forgotten. Through all the life and lands that owe their preservation to him, Bill's heart will remain indelibly and inextricably woven into the South Bay for generations. And I ask you to join me today, colleagues, in commemorating Bill Brand's lifetime of passionate advocacy and public service by adjourning the Senate in his memory. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Allen. Our condolences to Bill Brandt's family and friends.